I landed here, I said, I'm going to stay here. And I've been here since 1979.
All right, thank you. Hello and welcome, everyone. We are here for an evening of meet and greet with our liberal leaders. Just a reminder that Belleville Mosque, Islamic Society of Belleville, does not endorse any political views or parties. The purpose of this gathering here is to get an opportunity to see the candidates and get familiarity with their views and have an opportunity to ask any questions if you have. So today we have here Salma Zahid. She's from Scarborough region and she's an MP candidate from Liberal. And alongside is Chris Malette, who is also a MP candidate for Hastings and Bay of Quinte region. And we will start as we're expecting more guests, rather hosts who will be coming as we start. And whose phone is that? Okay, sorry. I thought it's mine. It's usually mine. So basically, I'll start with brief introduction of our community, and then I'll ask Chris Mallet next to share his thoughts and views, and finally, Salma Zahid will come here and speak with you. After that, we'll have a question answer session, and then we'll have some refreshments and tea and coffee will be served. So brief introduction of the community. It's a small community here. We're about over 200 Muslim families here in this region. A little less than 100 of them are Pakistani. They're all part of the community, very well integrated. They're doctors. We have engineers. Okay, I thought somebody was talking. Pharmacists, engineers, scientists, software engineers, and entrepreneurs. There are people who run businesses and own businesses. Some of them are walking in right as we speak, and these are like part of our very healthy and integrated community.
Look at them all coming in.
Yes. And we have just started, gentlemen. Please come here and take a seat over here. You're just right on time. And we have a saying about Muslim and especially Pakistani community. I mean, if the time is 6 o'clock, it means 7:30 is the time when you start getting ready.
There's a similar saying with our friends in the Mohawk community next door.
There you go.
They're on Mohawk time. So
Yeah, so we have our own time zone that just kind of flexible. Anyway, so yeah, that's a brief introduction of our community for our guests. And I think we'll just start our session with Chris Mallet coming here first, and he will just speak with you, whatever he wants to speak with.
You want me to take the mic or?
Whatever you please. You want me to bring it here?
Probably be easier, yeah, if you don't mind.
Okay, let me see.
Okay, yeah. There we go. Great. Yeah, I'll just slide it in. Thank you.
Just
Yeah.
to make sure it's
Yeah, that's good. Yeah.
That's good.
Well, thank you for having us, and I'm very happy to be joining you this evening. And I was saying earlier when we came in, I remember this hall serving a number of purposes in the past, but I'm very happy to see that it's become a gathering place and a mosque for our Muslim friends. And this community, when I came here, I'll tell you a little bit backstory, my story. I was born and raised in Windsor, Ontario, and French Canadian on one side, Polish Ukrainian on the other. I can't speak either language very well, so but I get by fairly well in English. And as a result, I took journalism in college. I took a community college course at Oakville, at Sheridan College in Oakville. And I graduated with a diploma in journalism and right away got a job at a weekly newspaper in Hanover, Ontario, which is about a 3 or 4 hour drive from here up near Owen Sound, north of Kitchener area. So I was a year in Hanover and a job opening came in Belleville, Ontario. And I remember the boss at the paper said, there's a job opening and they'll move you to Belleville, Ontario. And I said, where's Belleville, Ontario? And we had to get out a map and look on the map. My family at the time was living in Montreal because my dad worked for Chrysler. And because he spoke French, we moved quite a bit. So I was a very mobile youth. So I was familiar moving from place to place. And as such, I was very comfortable meeting new people, which came in very handy in my journalism career. But when I looked on the map and they showed me how close Belleville was to Montreal at the time, I thought, okay, that'll make going home on the holidays a lot easier than Hanover, which was a 6 or 7 hour drive. So here I am. And when I arrived here, I thought, this is an interesting place. It was very, very much not as diverse a place as it is now. I was shocked at just how not diverse, let's say, as it is now. And coming from a very multicultural place like Windsor, where there was a great number of communities in Windsor, and as well as living in Montreal, it was a little stunning to come to a place like Belleville. And as I sure maybe some of you are still finding, it's still quite a homogenous place, but it's getting better. And this is why I'm so happy to see your community growing in numbers, and I wish it would grow more. So I fell in love with the place. Its natural beauty. You really can't find this in many places in Ontario. You're so close to Toronto, you're close to Montreal, but in less than an hour in either direction, you have Lake Ontario and the beautiful beaches in Prince Edward County. You drive north and you're only a half an hour and you're in beautiful country with the lakes and then the granite rocks, the true image of what Canada is like. And it's just so beautiful that, and of course, I fell in with a bunch of guys because I played rugby. So for 30 some years, I was a rugby player in this town. That's probably why my nose is so broken. I've had to have 2 knees replaced, but I played rugby for 30 some years here. And it's a good community sport, and it's growing. We've grown the game into quite the game here. Belleville's one of the respected communities for youth rugby in all of Ontario. So that kind of thing kept me going. 36 years at the daily newspaper here. And if you go downtown today, you'll see what's left of the old newspaper building that I came to. It's right on the corner by the armories, the church that had all the homeless gathering there. That gray brick building that was now boarded up on the corner of Pinnacle Street and Bridge Street, that was the Intelligencer, my newspaper. I was there for some 36 years before I finally took a buyout. And after a couple of years, and after covering all of the stories of this community in the Bay of Quinte area, really, I decided I'd throw my hat in the ring, and I became a Belleville City Councilor. So I've been on Belleville City Council now for 6 years. And in that time, I've been on several committees. I'm on the Planning Advisory Committee, for instance, but I chair I was on the Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion Committee last term, and I think some of you may have met our chair for that committee, Councillor Sean Kelly, who has been here on a number of occasions. But I'm also chair of the Hastings County Community and Human Services Committee that deals with social housing, some of the bigger portfolios, some of the homelessness relief. I'm also on the Emergency Medical Services Committee for Hastings County. I also chair the Green Task Force for the City of Belleville, which is an environmental advisory committee for City Council. And I've chaired the Quinte Conservation Authority as well, which looks after conservation lands, as well as the Moyer River that runs through the middle of the city. That river used to flood every year in spring. Downtown, there are photos, if you look in the archives, 1981, there were actually cars in the parking lots along the behind the stores on Bridge Street or on Front Street were actually floating away and washing down the parking lot because the dam, the mouth of the river had frozen up. So there are a series of dams that you now see on that river. That's the Moira River Conservation Authority, and Quinte Conservation put that in place. I chaired that committee, and we still look after various conservation areas in the area, and I urge you all to get out and take part. There's Vanderwater Conservation Area just north of the city. We have one just east of the city or west of the city here on the Bay of Quinte, Potter's Creek. So we have various conservation lands that are just beautiful, and I urge you to get out, walk, and enjoy nature. We have great trails on those. So that's a little bit about my council involvement, and I'm now in my 6th year on council. And after speaking with some of my friends in the Liberal Party, I had a little bit of involvement. Our current mayor, I don't know, some of you may know Mayor Neil Ellis. Neil's a terrific guy. He was also a Liberal member of Parliament. He got elected in 2015 and then reelected again in 2019. He lost his third bid to the current chap, Brian Williams. But I helped Neil on his campaign in 2015. That was when a chap by the name of Justin Trudeau came around. He was new. So it was quite an exciting time. So I helped Neil at that time. But when this election came around, I thought, okay, this is a time for Chris Malette, city councillor, to become Chris Malette, member of parliament, because it's such an important election. And one of the catalysts for this election for me was Mark Carney. When I knew I was going to jump in, but when I heard Mr. Carney give his address and the whole excitement of at the nomination process when he was chosen as leader of the Liberal Party and as Prime Minister, he really inspired me even more. So here we are. We're all coalesced behind Mark Carney, a very strong leader, and that's what we've been hearing at the doorstep right now. We have such a calamitous and tumultuous situation with President Trump in the United States, who is totally upsetting the world order right now and threatening our sovereignty and our economic viability, quite frankly. Now is the time that we need stability, and I'm all in on Mark Carney and Team Carney to keep that stability, because you need a stable hand on the tiller when you're up against somebody like Donald Trump. In a nutshell, that's a big nutshell. Sorry, I rambled on a bit, but that's who I am, and that's why I'm here. So I welcome your questions, but right now I will ask my seatmate Salma to tell you a bit about why she's here and what she's all about.
Thank you, Chris. Assalamu alaikum, everybody. It's really great to be here. For me, it's like in being here 25 years in Canada, it's first time I'm here in Belleville. I've just crossed through 401 on many trips I make from Scarborough to Ottawa, but it's really great to be here to meet you all. And thanks to Abdul Razak Bhai for arranging this meet and greet. It is really very important to hear from those people who are putting their name in the hat to be your representatives. And as you all know, that we have a federal election on Monday, April 28th, and you will have a representative who will be representing the people from this area in Ottawa. So it is important for you all to be part of that process. Come out and vote and be heard. So I'll just give you a little bit about who I am. I've been the member of parliament since 2015. I also first time was elected under the when 2015 Justin Trudeau was the leader of the Liberal Party, and re-elected in 2019, and then in 2021 I've been representing Scarborough Centre But now with the redistribution, my riding will be called as Scarborough Centre, Don Valley East. So right now my title is I'm the Liberal candidate for the riding of Scarborough Centre, Don Valley East. And it's really great to be along with our amazing Liberal Party candidate from this riding, Bay of Quinte, Chris. So thanks, Chris, for having us here in your hometown. I am here to ask for your support and make sure that we have a strong representative from Bay of Quinte representing you all, being your voice in Ottawa. It's really very important that we give a strong mandate to our leader, Mark Carney, on this coming Monday, because a lot is at stake. This is not an ordinary election. We have threats to the sovereignty of our country. Donald Trump has imposed unnecessary, unjustified tariffs on Canada, which is affecting affordability for many Canadians. It is affecting a lot of jobs. So it is really very important that we elect a strong leader, a prime minister who can stand up to Donald Trump. And Mark Carney is that person. We have to work, we have to make sure that we work until 9:30 a.m. until the polls close on Monday, and every vote counts, and make sure that we give a strong mandate to him. So for that, it is really very important that we elect Chris as the member of parliament for the Bay of Quinte, so he can be part of the Liberal government under the leadership of Mark Carney. Mark Carney has the credentials, he has the strong economic background, and to make sure that we build one of the fastest growing economy here in Canada, make sure that we build a Canada for everyone, make sure that we protect the jobs, we protect our workers, and also stand up to Donald Trump. This, we have a clear choice. Do we want Pierre Poilievre, who has no qualification or experience to deal with any crisis? Mark Carney has dealt with crisis. We have seen he knows how to deal with the crisis. He was the governor of the Bank of Canada during the recession here in 2008. He was the governor of the Bank of England during the Brexit. So he knows how to deal with the crisis. And he will stand up for all Canadians. And at the same time, make sure that life is more affordable for all Canadians. He has proposed that if elected, he will reduce the taxes for the middle class, which will save a two-income family approximately $825 per year. So that's more money into the pockets of the Canadians who need a little extra help. He has announced a most comprehensive, aggressive housing plan, because we have seen in the increase in the prices for the houses for many first-time home buyers. It is they really cannot afford to buy a house, and we have seen that many of our young kids are living with their parents in the basements because they can't afford to buy. So federal government will be back in the business of construction through Build Canada Homes. They will act as a builder and make sure that we construct 500,000 houses every year. This is the most aggressive plan since World War II. Canada built homes after the World War II, and I'm very optimistic that Canada will do it again. So, and plus as far as the housing program is concerned, there will be, for the first time home buyers, if they buy a house under $1 million, there will be no GST, which will save them about $50,000. And we will make sure that we build a Canada for everybody. Regardless of who you are, from where you came, we have to make sure that the rights and for everyone are protected. I have been a strong advocate for the human rights of everybody in my last 9.5 years. I have fought for our communities. I've been a strong voice, and we need people. We need some allies who can be your voice in Ottawa. So please come out, vote on April 28th. The polls will be open from 9:30 a.m. to 9:30 p.m. Make sure that you take every family member, your friends, your neighbors, everyone out to vote, all your kids. Sometimes I know with our families, it happens that, oh, like one person votes and we have 8 votes in the house and we say, yeah, we have voted. So we have to make sure that this will be a close race. You have to make sure everyone votes. And also, we and Chris needs your help. To volunteer on his campaign. So you have like Saturday, Sunday, and like 3 days left. So it's really very important that be part of Team Chris, come out and volunteer. Help them get the door knockers, the Liberals' IDs, letting them know where to vote. And I know like their GOTV team must be very busy putting the stuff together. So please help them out Saturday, Sunday to get the word out, to get the door knockers out. Come on Monday, help them to get the Liberal people to the voting locations. This is really very important. No campaign can run without the volunteers. You are the, like, volunteers are the backbone of any campaign. Like, we have a huge team knocking doors for me in my riding. So we need all of you to be part, not just to vote, but be a part of the democratic process and help get your friends and neighbors out to vote also. So Chris needs a lot of volunteers on election day and in the next 2 days. So please come out. We have Maz here from his campaign team. So give your name and your contact information to Maz so that he can call you, let you know what time you can come to the campaign office. It's just a 2-minute drive from here. So please visit the campaign office and put your name on the volunteer list.
Where's the campaign office? Right next to Dairy Queen. Okay, so 76? No, 66. So
I'm sure Chris will buy you some ice cream also at the end.
On that note, my wife owns an ice cream shop in Wellington. So yeah, the old greenhouse ice cream shop. So come on down this summer, you all get an extra scoop. So
Yeah.
So, Mr. Chris, you're counselor as well, right?
yes, I am.
We have a couple of problems like in this town. Like basically, one of them is there's a lot of international students. They do underground taxi business, and we've been reported that to the city, and they've done nothing about it.
Our bylaw enforcement. The question was, there are some underground taxi businesses operating in the city. It's been reported to the city. Now, this is my city council hat I have on right now. This has happened to me a few times when I've appeared. What is the issue is we have a very limited number of people in bylaw enforcement. Oh, we're working on it. Trust me.
That's another thing that, like, when I look at the city of Belleville, like, I don't see any colored people that working in there, or white people. You know what I mean?
Oh no, well, that's changing, and you know, remember I said this is wasn't a very diverse community when I got here. It's expanding greatly, and it's very welcome. We have equity, diversity, and inclusion provisions in our hiring provisions at City Hall. And I can tell you, we do in fact have people of color working at City Hall. A number of them. You often don't see them on front counters or out on the street, but we do actually have diverse communities in City Hall. Not at, we can always use more, absolutely, but we're working on it. But to your original point, we need more bylaw enforcement people. That's an internal issue. We can expand staff if we want to increase taxes. Right now, increasing taxes is not a good idea. That exactly. When we increase municipal taxes by say 4 or 5%, which we had to this year, that's compounded on everything else that you as homeowners, consumers are spending for federal, provincial taxes, taxes on your gasoline, your insurance has gone up for home and auto, everything. So we're very cognizant that every penny counts. And when I get to Ottawa, the same thing is going to govern me there. We had to raise taxes 4 to 5% this year because we had to hire 17 new police officers. We haven't had a new police officer hiring since 2016 in this city. So the city is growing, but our police and our firefighters, we had to hire new firefighters as well. You've seen all the new homes that are being built north of the 401 in Thurlow. We're building more to the west end of the city. There's Avonlea subdivisions going to be opening up. We need new police. We need more police and fire. To do that, unfortunately, and the wages for those are quite high, we have to raise taxes. Now, we're trying to keep that as low as we can. But to your point, we start expanding more bylaw enforcement officers. We don't want to grow bureaucracy, but we do need to police the things that need to be policed. The speed cameras, you're looking at the counselor who asked for a report on 2 full cycles of these cameras being put out there and how much money it's bringing in. But that kind of the cat got out of the bag on that when the county, which enforces the collection of those fines, gave its number, I think, last week, and it's double what the city expected. Well, I asked for a full report saying, do these cameras actually reduce injuries to pedestrians, that sort of thing? That's coming out in another month or so. Hopefully I'm in Ottawa at that time, but the report's still going to come out. So
I mentioned those things because I'm a cab driver here.
Yeah.
Okay,
We'll just do like a lot of questions from everyone, and then we'll have more time.
Yeah, this is my last question, then you can ask. Okay, you will make me forget what I was gonna ask. So, I'm a cab driver here, so I know the town in and out, basically. Like, most people don't see what's going on in the background. As a cab driver, you know this much everything. You know what I mean? Like, some problems that we see, like, nobody sees. And in this situation, like, I mentioned all those problems because we're also looking for different jobs as well. Because let's say, like, even within the city, you guys need a lot of like driver positions. You know, how come like we can't even hear about those problems?
the opportunities. Okay. Is that remote? There it is. Okay. All right. The question was related to hiring practices. And again, this is more municipal than it is federal, but I'll just get this one out of the way. The city website or any of the city social media pages, and this particularly the city website, there's a jobs link. Click on that. We're hiring all the time. I was at a funeral today for our deputy fire chief. Somebody sidled up to our development or our director of planning, who was sitting behind me, said, "My son just is graduating with a planning degree. Are you looking for jobs?" He said, "Yeah. Watch our website. In the next week or two, we're going to be advertising for a junior planner." Those jobs start at $80,000, $90,000 a year. So we do have opportunities on our website for all manner. And the Public Works Department is looking for drivers, especially seasonal come summer. They're well-paying jobs, working our parks. So those are on our website. So this is a municipal question, and we're here to talk about federal issues, but that's fine. Yep. Okay. Yep.
I'm coming. Okay. 1 second. There's an announcement. Okay, guys, please for the kind of please. Can you please, please,
Let me ask one
please?
thing.
Everyone has to have a chance, please.
There is a lot of racism against the Muslim community on Facebook group. I don't know if you know the owner or something like on that group. If you can communicate with him.
I have no control over Facebook. I try to stay out of those places.
No, I understand, but maybe like I'm listening to the owner of that Facebook. You know,
Okay, brother, please. Everyone has.
also from the council, right? That's their question.
I apologize.
It's not that okay. You probably people need to talk to the person over there, you know. That's not right. This is about balance.
Okay, sorry about that. Back to our schedule. Uh, so we have, brother has any question? He just went. Okay, so just a reminder, this is a federal election. It is more relevant if you ask questions that are about the federal government or what they can do as a MP when they get elected. And that should be the focus. And with that, I have one more question here.
Chris, my name is Mubashir Chima. I work as an engineering manager in Procter and Gamble, and I just want to tell you something. Next time you wanna come over, you don't need Salma with you. I'm just kidding with you. And sister, you're welcome, mashallah. Thank you very much. What I mean by that was really that you're more than welcome to connect with this community. And I would like to emphasize it would have been even better if we were connected earlier, right? Just because we are a very strong, vibrant community. I want to make a point about 200 plus, maybe 300 families in greater Belleville area. And we are very close knit. We come together every Friday. Like this Eid, like yearly celebration, this whole place was packed, upstairs, downstairs. I think about 500 people, ladies and gents. Having that said, so we are decent strength here geopolitically. Having that said, what I want to say, definitely some big issues in play, which you have mentioned, as Sister Salma has mentioned, in terms of sovereignty of Canada. Human rights are the second big one. Why I wanted to really jump in, I knew the gentleman and I wanted to emphasize that let's talk about the bigger things. You're playing for a bigger stage. We are here for our bigger issues. These we can always discuss locally as well. So having that said, thank you. So sovereignty of Canada is the prime. Human rights is the second most important thing. We all see what's happening on the south side of our border. And we, honestly speaking, as humans, we may have difference of opinion. We may align on 7 things. We may not align on 3 things. And I can tell you right now, Muslim community at large nationwide aligns very well with the liberal agenda. As I said, maybe on 7 things, if we may disagree or we may have something to talk about. But I do want to request something here, and then want to hear your opinion. And that is, first of all, we are all brothers in humanity and sisters in humanity. No matter what word we use, what's happening globally in many parts of the world, I don't want to speak about a certain place. As a human, as a good human, ethical person, nobody should tolerate injustice. Nobody should tolerate injustice. Nobody should tolerate innocent children, women, and people dying for any reason anywhere. And I appeal to you and your other comrades and everybody else in the Liberal Party that please, regardless of which origin or which country or what religion things are happening, nobody should die the way people are dying in Palestine, for example, and many other parts of the world. And we should have this integrity when we go to the parliament. Across party lines, things play different, and I'm very well familiar with that. There are many powers, sometimes above a party's power. Okay, they play a big role. I'm very well aware of that. But a person's strength, individual strength, what matters. I'm a believer in God. As a Muslim community, we solely believe that ultimately God controls everything. That's why we should stand for what is right, and that's what I'm requesting you.
I can start and then.
Greatly appreciated. Then I will respond.
Thank you for your question. And I know this is a very important issue and it is on the top of our minds. And I just want to let you know, like, the work which I have done in the last, like, since after like this war in Gaza started, and why we need Chris from here so that we can continue that work. I chair Canada Palestine Parliamentary Friendship Group in Ottawa. So I've been the chair since 2021, even before this war in Gaza started. And what all we saw, the loss of the lives of the innocent children, no humanitarian aid getting there, is very disturbing and heartbreaking for all of us. As a mother, it has been very difficult for me to watch, and I'm really worried about the mental health of my sons and all the young generation, because we have been hearing about this issue since since our childhood, but we never saw those images, which because of social media our kids have seen. We have lost so many innocent lives in Gaza, in West Bank. I visited West Bank just to hear from the Palestinian families directly back in January 2024. I was part of the delegation. We had 5 MPs, and we had representatives from NCCM and IDRF and Islamic Relief and Canadian Muslim Vote. So what I saw and what I heard, it's a constant dehumanization of the Palestinian people every day, every second of their life. I was one of the first MPs to stand up in the House of Commons when we had the emergency debate on 16th to call for a ceasefire. And as chair of the Canada-Palestine Parliamentary Friendship Group, I worked with my other colleagues, and I brought 32 other MPs together, and we wrote a letter to the Prime Minister asking Canada to call for a ceasefire on October 20th, 2023. I have been a strong advocate that we need to make sure, even before this war started, about the work which UNRWA is doing. And while I was visiting Gaza, we went to Jordan first, and then we went to West Bank. I visited the camps in Amman, also in Jordan, and talked with the Palestinian families. I visited a school which is being run by UNRWA. And I firsthand saw the important work which they are doing. The work of the UNRWA is very much needed. And Canada has been funding UNRWA to make sure that we provide basic services to the people living in Palestine. Pierre Poilievre has said very clearly that very first day they will end the funding for UNRWA and have called UNRWA as a terrorist organization. The UNRWA is doing important work, making sure that our kids get education. And as a mother, I think the best tool we can give to our kids is education, so that they are successful in life. So when I heard from the kids, we talked with some representatives, like model representatives from that group of students studying at UNRWA, and few kids asked us that, why are you teaching human rights when there are no human rights? It was very heartbreaking. And I heard from the teachers that the textbooks in Gaza are being used to fuel to cook food because they don't have anything else. So that this thing will live with me forever. And I tell you, like, as member of parliament, it lays very heavy on my shoulders. I have fought for that we need to make sure that there is a complete ceasefire, make sure that the Palestinian people have a right to live freely. Canada's foreign policy states very clearly on a two-state solution. We need to have a state of Palestine where Palestinian people can live freely. And what all we want is like a good future for our next generations. We need to make sure that there is an arms embargo. No arms should go from Canada to kill innocent people. International rule of law has to prevail. And ICC and ICJ are looking into that case, and Canada is a signatory to that. Canada should respect the decision of ICC and ICJ. No one should be above the rule of law. Wars have rules, and under every rule of law, innocent lives are protected. Like what we have seen is a destruction of schools. We have seen destruction of hospitals, humanitarian aid not flowing. So we have to make sure that Canada remains a champion of human rights, make sure that we bring international allies together. And as the member of parliament, I will continue to do that. And we need allies like Chris to be there to fight for not just for Canadians, but for the human rights across the world. So I'm sure once we have Chris there, you will have a strong voice through him in fighting for the human rights and making sure that we have a complete ceasefire, hostages, and the prisoners are returned. There is humanitarian aid gets into. So we will work together and make sure that we have a continuous dialogue with you, continue to hear from you. During this last summer of 2024, I did 7 roundtables across Canada. Some in GTA, then Ottawa, Calgary, Vancouver. So I heard directly like about the anti-Palestinian racism, and anti-Palestinian racism is deep, it's systemic, and what we have seen in the last 1.5 year is like rise in anti-Semitism, rise in Islamophobia. So we have to make sure that we come together as Canadians, fight, like break the walls of hate around us, and make sure that we develop, like we build a community, we build Canada where no one is left behind and everyone is part of the Canadian dream. So let's get Chris elected and let's work together. So I'll pass it on to Chris. Yeah.
To that point, I'm.
Just to help you, thank you very much. Really, what I want to hear
Mhm.
as my answer, just to help you, so you can really go straight to the point. We have all, we all have some good, or we have some basic feelings within ourselves. But when we go to a platform, there are pressures, all sorts of pressures. Would you be willing to go beyond those pressure and actually vote for things which would matter for humanity?
Not just over outside of Canada, in Canada as well, as any community, Muslim or not Muslim, school education and the family.
Absolutely. Well, we're a party of inclusivity. We are a party that represents human rights, and I feel very strongly about that. And I will vote across any of those issues. There's no, I see no barriers myself in how I should vote, depending on who I'm representing in terms of ethnicity, race, religion, any of that. What's right is right, and just I want to get right back to one point, and it'll tell you a little bit about who I am and what has kind of shaped me over the years. 30 years ago, as a journalist, when I was working at the Intelligencer, I was covering CFB Trenton. That was my part of my beat. I was a reporter there and a photographer, but we had at that time, we still had money for a staff photographer. We had very good staff photographers at the Intelligencer, award-winning. But we deployed with the Canadian Air Force out of Trenton. I flew to Somalia in 1993. We were based in Nairobi, Kenya. We were flying food aid into Somalia, and at the time, this was a year before. Just to put it in context, about less than 8 months before the infamous Black Hawk Down incident in Mogadishu. So for 10 days, I was with our Canadian Air Force, flying on a Hercules based at CFB Trenton, flying food aid into Belleville, Somalia, which was a 4-hour flight, which is a long way in. It's hard by the Ethiopian border. And we were delivering rice, beans, and cooking oil to a refugee camp in that area of some 8,000 to 10,000 people who had migrated through the Ogaden Desert to get there. Families, we interviewed mothers who had lost children to famine, just crossing the desert to get to that feeding area that was operated by the Irish Aid Agency, as I recall, called Concern, and the Red Cross. There was a lot of violence. At that time, you may remember there were very heavily armed gangs, and there was civil war. The Canadians went in unarmed in a big old Hercules, loaded to the gunnels with rice, beans, and cooking oil. And I went in with them, and I talked to the people. We had a couple of translators. I feel very strongly when I hear what we're saying about threatening funding for things like UNRWA. I've seen the benefit of the United Nations World Food Program, for instance, that was flying into places just like we were, where the Americans, for instance, at that time, they suspended flights because they thought it was too dangerous. We were going in totally unarmed aircraft. I imagine somewhere they might have had a handgun hidden behind a bulkhead in case. But when we opened the back hatch on that Hercules aircraft and our Canadian Air Force guys stepped off, they were unarmed. There was probably 30 to 40 bandits at that time with all manner of firearms slung over their shoulders. Some of them may have worked, some of them didn't. We didn't care, but there were a lot of AK-47s, and it was very dangerous. Canada was there in the middle of nowhere, helping when even the Americans didn't go in. I feel very strongly about that. I came back from that pretty much a changed person. I listened to stories of mothers whose children died of famine and of just the effects of that civil war. So that helped shape me. Just to tell you a little bit of who I am. If you like, you can go down to the Belleville Public Library and have a look in the archives. Some of the stories that I wrote and my photographer Frank took. We did a series of 5-6 days worth of stories. We won awards for it, but we opened some eyes about the importance of Canada being at the forefront of representing what's right in this world, supporting refugee assistance. And when it comes to defunding UNRWA, as our friends, not so much our friends, but Mr. Polyev has said he will do, it's just flat out wrong. Okay, so I'll leave that at that.
Thank you very much. That was a very important issue, and that is at the top of our mind for every single person in the community. Thank you, Brother Mubashir, for bringing that up. We definitely hope and expect that you will keep your words. This is, and not just an urgent, but this is like utmost humanitarian crisis that's going on right now, and I just do not have the words to explain what's happening right now that we cannot imagine. I just saw an image of a 4-year-old or 5-year-old child that was split in half. That has to stop. That is genocide. That has to stop. Anyone who goes there with a voice, with that power, with the political power, has to make a commitment. This is human rights. This is justice. This is injustice going on. We have to stop it. We have to raise our voices. So thank you very much for committing to be a voice of those who do not have any voice. Let's just a second. एक second, just a second.
Sister. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Sister Salma, as you said, like you stand since 2021 with the communities, and you did so much for the Muslim communities. Is your also your party Liberal is on the same page? Like, are they standing for Muslims or against Islamophobia, or like the things are happening in the world and in the country? Are they standing for that too, or it's just like you as a Muslim, you did so much?
Thank you very much.
Thank you for the question. I will start with that the Liberal Party is the party of the Charter of Rights and Freedom. And it is there to protect the rights of everyone. And it includes Muslims also. We have seen the rise in Islamophobia, but we like together, like myself and the other MPs and the Liberal Party as a whole, is committed to fighting Islamophobia, is committed to fighting all forms of hate. We have like an anti-racism strategy where we are committed to fighting Islamophobia, anti-Semitism, anti-Asian, anti-Black racism, so all forms of hate. So back, like we saw what happened in London, the loss of the Afzal family. After that, we did a national summit on Islamophobia, where the Muslim leaders, the activists came together and we brought some points. One of the issue was like appointing special representative on Islamophobia. I'm really proud that Amira Al Gabi was appointed. So she is the special representative to fight Islamophobia. And she has recently designed a handbook about how to fight Islamophobia. And Pierre Pollier will eliminate that position. If Pierre Pollier is elected, there will be no special representative on Islamophobia. We increase the annual budget of the Canada Community Security Programs, which was designed to help protect vulnerable communities and places of worship. I have seen firsthand through SIP, the funding which the mosques are getting to install cameras, and now even we have made it easier for the organizations to apply, and many things have been added, like just having a security guard also, which was not part of that earlier. So I have seen firsthand how what important role that funding has played in our communities, and it has really helped the places of worship to be safe. See, we have to like make sure that any coming to a mosque, gurdwara, synagogue, church feels safe. Every Canadian has to feel safe. So we have taken significant measures. A lot more has to be done, and I commit to you that Liberal Party is there to fight Islamophobia, to fight all forms of hate. So as a member of parliament, when I came, when I was elected and I like interacted with my communities, I felt that we don't know about our friends and neighbors. We don't try. So like I have in my riding a multi-faith council, which I started, where I brought leaders of different faiths together. So during Ramadan, we do a fast at a church. Azan is done at a church. So, and the local pastors in my riding like want to host that for the community. We have done Thanksgiving dinner, a Christmas dinner with multi-faith leaders at different places of worship. So this is about learning each other, making sure that we don't have apprehensions about our friends and neighbors. So we are all very much committed to fighting Islamophobia, and Amira's handbook is on fighting Islamophobia. We will continue to work on that further and make sure that every Canadian feels safe. Yes.
So when you are at the parliament, and you have you seem to very much an environment you can even be the voice across party lines. You can win some people. Do you see that kind of environment where where you can, for the right cause? I'm not talking only for Muslims, for any right cause, where party positions might be different. Let's say your Liberal Party is on the right side, but conservatives are not, for example. How much is the opportunity there actually reaching out the right people, like-minded people, and try to convince them? What is the real environment up there? Or is it like just hard and fast line across party lines? I mean, I'm just saying, if there is, we should do that.
It's not a, see, it's not a hard and fast line. Like as I told you that I chair Canada Palestine Parliamentary Friendship Group, it's a non-partisan group. We have representatives from the Bloc, the Liberals, NDP, Green. We have we just have, I think, one senator from the Conservative. We don't have any MP from the Conservative Party as part of that. So but that group is open to all parties. And what I mentioned to you, that we signed a letter, we wrote a letter calling for a ceasefire, which was signed by 33 MPs. It included Liberal MPs, NDP MPs, Bloc, and Green. No one from the Conservative signed that, but there are a lot of opportunities. We have different associations: Canada, China, Canada, America, European community. So there are different opportunities where we are like non-partisan. So at the end of the day, I think as members of parliament, it is really very important that we represent our communities and make sure that the voices of our communities are heard in Ottawa.
One second. So there was a previous question about Islamophobia. I don't know if you wanted to add something.
As a matter of fact, I did want to just mention some years, it wasn't very long ago, a few years ago, and some of you may have taken part or may have been involved. There was a gathering at the Lutheran Church on the east end of town here where it was after a particularly violent attack against Muslim population. I believe this may have been in Australia. I may be. I'm sorry. The New Zealand attack. An interfaith gathering, and I was involved in that because I've been, for the past 11 years, I've been a member of a board member for the Enrichment Center for Mental Health, which was the Canadian Mental Health Association branch here. But Sandy Sidsworth and her amazing group of people has this organization. But we were part of the consortium that quickly put that together. It was an all faiths, all race, all communities gathering at the Lutheran Church on the east end of Belleville. It was a terrific evening, and I remember that night a lot of people saying we need to do more of this in this community to bring more diverse groups together. We shouldn't just be gathering, and sure, it's lovely when they all come together, light a candle when there's a tragedy such as that. But it should be a year-round thing where, the Christian community should be hand in hand with the Muslim community at all times of year to work together on all manner of things. And it's always been part of my ethos. I have two adult daughters, and if you talk to them to this day, they'll say, and we jokingly say I've gone and raised two social justice warriors, but that's what they are in their professional life and in their personal beliefs. But they're very inclusive young women because we always had open dialogue about these things in our homes. We never had, they would come home from school and ask me about, we heard this at school about this group. And we would encourage them to, look more into it. And that's the kind of dialogue we need in this community. Okay, so that's all I can say on that. But my point was, when we had that gathering after the New Zealand attack, we all came together, and I remember thinking at the time we have to do this more often, but not just when there's a tragedy like that.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your thoughts. Yes, we definitely need to have more gatherings like this, and we did have one similar interfaith session previously, not for that specific round topic, but we do have a need to get together.
Just want to let you know, Chris, I think Shalby's campaign is very strong, liberal in the north and of Tweed. So, Shelby Cramp. Yes, and I didn't see many liberal signs on the roads and around.
That's the other riding.
Yeah. Oh, you're on the other riding.
We're south of the 401.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Well, I seen. Yeah.
So you have a different candidate north of the 401, which is maddening to me because we have a lot of support. I've had other people say.
Absolutely, we need more volunteers to work for the campaign. Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for being here and taking your important time for us. And thank you again.
All right. Thanks, Brother Imran.
So I have one question.
Okay, so we have
Not about the Islamophobia or anything, about housing. Like we know there is affordable housing coming and slowly and gradually, we're building more housing. But right now, I work in Trenton. I work with a lot of seniors. An average apartment is $1,600 a month. It's quite, expensive. It's quite expensive for a senior to rent an apartment by himself. If they are a couple, they are okay. But only one person is impossible. I have two my close customers. They have to move out from the apartments because they could not afford, so even the affordable housing, the still rents are very high. The still is about $1,600 a month, and a senior makes individual about $1,800 to a month. So so are you going to increase the pension?
We've already increased OAS.
So for seniors, we like brought the age of old age security and guaranteed income supplement back to 65, which the Harper government took it to 67. So we brought that. We increased the old age security OAS for the most vulnerable seniors, and Mark Carney has also announced that we will allow seniors to will reduce the minimum amount of the withdrawal from the RIFs so that they can use it like as they need it and make sure that they have savings to go on. So and under the like our housing plan, we will make sure that there is more affordable housing also. There will be dedicated money for affordable housing for seniors as well as the students also. So we are committing in that. I know the prices and the rents have gone up, but we will really increase the stock of the housing and construct like 500,000 houses every year. So that will help lower the rents also, because once we have a good stock, and it will be like, it's really very important. And also that all levels of government work together. Federal, provincial, like federal government has been absent during Harper era from the housing file, but we had drafted the national housing strategy. Federal government was back in the housing, and we have given money to the municipalities, to the provinces, to make sure that uh, we can construct more houses, reduce the red tape. So we will continue our efforts, and I'm sure that's going to help.
Just quickly on that as well, and I've heard it a lot knocking doors. It's a multi-pronged problem, unfortunately. It was exacerbated during the pandemic as well, when we had a lot of people moving out of the GTA into our area, and a lot of what was affordable rental properties got snarfled up fairly quickly. Pardon the word, but they got scooped up. We have a local solution that we're hoping that we can maybe multiply. In Prince Edward County and Bloomfield, there's a former school that was closed because the population or the student enrollment stopped growing. They closed the grade school. It's a perfectly solid building. It's a cinder block and steel building. It's called Pinecrest, and it was an effort by a group of there's a nonprofit housing agency here in Belleville that is doing wonderful things, but we can't do it on a scale. We're trying to like give them steroids, if you will. This outfit, Altogether Housing, it's called. They plan to have a place over there, and this is the solution for people like you're talking about. 50 units, 55 and over only, seniors, geared to seniors. The average rent will be $700 to $900 per month. And it is amazing. And it'll be a 1 and 2 bedroom. They won't be big units, but these are in old classrooms in the school. I was in it last weekend, 2 weekends ago, sorry. And we gave them a little hope where in the past, for the past 5 years, they've been running into roadblocks with Canadian Mortgage. CMHC has been putting roadblock after roadblock. After speaking to some of our people in Ottawa, a Mark Carney government is going to start taking down those barriers through CMHC. We're going to kickstart projects like this where we have agencies like Altogether Housing that has been doing. You may have seen some of the new units at the corner of Sydney and College Street. Those apartment buildings on the other side past the police station. Those are examples of the work that they're doing. These are affordable housing units. And this project in Bloomfield, I want to see that going within the year. I want to see it's been taken back to the walls. It's an amazingly sound structure. The plumbing is good. We just need to get it going. And that it will be housing for up to 50 units. And you can put you can put a seniors couple in there. $700 to $900, depending on the size of the unit, 1 bedroom or 2. They're not going to be big. They won't be fancy, but they'll be comfortable. They'll be warm, and it's decent housing. That's the model we have to work towards. So,
Thank you, Chris. The question was about housing, and there is hope. Okay, we have.
Question, I have a comment. Liberal, I think, is in a winning position as per CBC polling tracker. They are telling that Liberal is winning so far. So we congratulate you and sister. In advance.
I don't look at the polls.
I don't look at the polls.
Yeah, we need to make sure that everyone comes out and votes.
Immigration कुछ कम करें
इमिग्रेशन का पूछो आप पूछो
The good thing is people vote. Yeah. The main thing is people go for vote. Yes, that's the thing.
All right, thank you.
If you have not voted, vote first thing in the morning and then help Chris get the other votes out. Yes.
We want you
Yeah.
to be strong winner and strong voice in the parliament.
I look forward to coming and celebrating with your community again.
One more thing, Chris, you are in the council and also mayor from the Liberal Party. The event that happened in the library just a while ago, we had a talk about Gaza, and they canceled the planning. They canceled the meeting there.
Oh, the
Okay.
showing of the, was that a film or that was a presentation?
Okay, no, let me elaborate that. So basically, we had planned for a summit or a seminar for healthcare workers in Gaza. There was devastating situation. Dr. Hussam was kidnapped, and whole units were bombed, and ambulances and hospitals and aid workers were all either kidnapped or murdered. And we wanted to bring awareness to the community. And it's probably not a federal question, but still, my brother brings it up. We wanted to host. It can be federal. It can become federal. But right now, you're local, so.
I remember, well, can I just?
Let me finish. So basically, first thing we did was to get it hosted on the library. They allowed us to host it, and everything was done and signed. And then just few days before it, they just canceled it. There were adversaries who were against it. We know it from other sources, and they got us canceled from our private venue as well. And eventually, we had that event hosted here at the mosque. We did not get support from the city. The city was not on our side, and they had been shutting us down since then.
Well, I thought I was going to get out of here without being put on the hot seat, but I'm not afraid. Listen, at 32 years at the newspaper, and as a guy who wrote an opinion column for 12 of those 36 years, I put my opinion out there, and I took some heat for it. On this issue, and I'm not in any way trying to obfuscate the situation. I'm not trying to dodge. I'm on the library board. I'm a member of the library board as a member of council. When this came up, we didn't know that this event was being held there. Yeah, we didn't know, period. We don't get all of the, because you have to remember the library rental space on the top floor, there are groups that use that daily and rent that space. We as a board, I got an email the day that our librarian, who's the CEO, he's a separate entity, and we charge him with operating the library as he sees fit within. There are certain rules, and he's got his criteria. He saw fit, thinking that this may have been attracting, and this is the way it was communicated to us, attracting some confrontation of opposing groups. And he said he's canceling the rental on that because of his concern that the library shouldn't be at the center of any opposing groups. He's a very overly cautious man. I mean, his job is basically, he's a librarian. And if you know librarians, they're pretty much gentle, cautious people. They're about making sure the books are good on the shelves and that sort of thing. And yeah, and when their job all of a sudden gets them in the middle of a very hot issue, as that became, he just, and Trevor is a very good, decent person. Trevor Pross, he's our CEO and our chief librarian. He just said, "Listen, I can't in good conscience have this here, not because of what the issue was that was going to be discussed there, out of concern that there may have been opposing groups somehow coming together at the library." So he just canceled it out of that. We found out about it, as I said, the day he had made the cancellation. Some members of the library board, and I can't remember which, and you're welcome, anybody's welcome to do a freedom of information request to look for any communications around that time. But some of our members asked, okay, was it for concern of the safety of the library staff in any way? And I can't recall what the discussion was. And I know it became very contentious after the cancellation, because I saw it kind of blow up afterwards. But we, as members of the library board, aren't consulted in those decisions. We task our CEO and our chief librarian the responsibility. He makes those calls. We can't second guess his every decision on things like that. So I'm not dodging the issue. I see why that is, but our spaces up there for rental are usually for artist exhibitions, some groups like that. And I think in simply, Mr. Pross just got very nervous about what may transpire, and he canceled. Now, it certainly blew up to be a big issue afterwards. I don't know how I feel either way. I think I welcome open dialogue on everything and anything.
So, Chris, I just want to say, after learning that you are a journalist and you actually you're saying that this interviews, I really personally, and on behalf of the community, I feel very comfortable you coming from that background. That tells me you're very open-minded. You have seen the world. You're willing to listen to opinion and stand for something. So I appreciate that, and I definitely this explanation regarding the library also very much seems true. But a good thing that became contentious, that tells me system is working.
Well,
We didn't have enough time, otherwise we have discussed more about that. We did that meeting over here.
I'm happy. I'm not just blowing smoke, as we say, because I'm with this group. I'm happy that another venue, because I remember thinking at the time, we didn't want to be the catalyst for shutting down this dialogue anywhere in the city. And when it did find a place for that to take place, I was happy with that. So, in the end, that dialogue did take place. And as a journalist, as you mentioned, thank you very much. I despise any attempts to stifle free speech. Okay, and it's been the cornerstone of my career all my life. I'm a very outspoken person, and I'm not afraid to take a stand. So, I think that's kind of what you want in a member of parliament, I hope.
Yeah.
And also one comment I want to tell to the Liberals, I was really impressed by the sign conservatives say, we stand for Canada. Like, as you guys know, south of the border, that's the trade thing is happening. So everywhere where you see proudly Canadian or we stand for Canada, that really bring attention. Like people
Okay, before we
like Liberal to make
yeah, just before we jump to the next topic, I just wanted to close on this library issue. Basically, I would love to have a follow up on that. I am actually the person who was organizing this. You're speaking to him right now. And major question for us was transparency. There was decision made, and it was felt that there's just one guy who's just calling the shots, and it just doesn't look right. It's not something that we should be living here. So I'll love to have a follow up, and don't want to take too much time.
I'll just tell you afterwards. Yeah, that's fine. The library board chair is Councillor Paul Carr. You could perhaps ask to be. Did you speak to Paul? Okay. Yeah. Again, there's 10 of us on the board, and we meet once a month, and we mostly talk about circulation and which books and things we're ordering. So this isn't a regular topic of discussion at library board meetings.
We will follow up.
Okay, thank you. I welcome the dialogue.
Thank you very much.
One last thing, Chris.
Yeah.
This election is important, but I really see in you a great friend of our community. This election, we wish you success. We will strive for that over the next 2 days. But even beyond the election, we definitely want to stay in touch. We find you a great friend in yourself. So yes.
All right.
I will listen. I'm welcome to any and every one of these gatherings whenever you want to have it.
Okay, thank you very much, guys. This was, sorry,
Thank you.
there's another question. I have a question. Sorry.
One quick question I have for you is basically, we go to the hospitals here. The worst waiting times at this Belleville General, is something that we all face. Can you?
Wow, I've done it a lot of times.
Yeah, so basically, it's just a lot of cuts are happening, but I think it would be appreciative if we can really look into the matters more outside of the box. Like maybe I know one incentive that I think has been promoted now is they're bringing doctors from overseas, like the UK and stuff, or even elsewhere. But I think more than that, we need to have something like another facility, maybe, so to speak, because just so that we can get a better timing on the service that we can get.
Sorry. Thank you. Waiting in healthcare. So, Chris, please be quick and brief because
Yeah.
you're out of time.
Yeah, I know. They're telling us we're out of time. Healthcare, as you know, hospitals, doctor recruitment, that sort of thing, is the purview of the provincial government. The federal government provides health care transfers to the provinces. The provinces more or less tell the federal government, thanks very much, we'll run our health systems the way we want to. But I think I'm correct. Salma, you can correct me if I'm wrong. We want to have more accountability from our provincial partners because we're hearing this all too often. And we are also concerned about the encroachment of private health care. And some of the provinces are opening the door to private health care, but we're the people, we being the federal government, are the people that are providing your tax dollars to the provinces, expecting them to have hospitals where you don't have to wait and emerge for 10, 12 hours. We're going to demand more accountability of the provinces for that. So.
Thank you. As Chris said, that healthcare is a provincial responsibility, but as federal government, we do the health transfers. And in the last years, we have increased the health transfers. We have signed agreements with all the provinces and the territories. Federal government has worked and will continue to work that every Canadian has a family doctor. That's really very important because a lot of people are going to the hospital emergencies because they don't have a family doctor. But we have to make sure that the provincial government is accountable and they don't just sit on the money. A lot of health transfer was done during the COVID to the Ontario government, but Doug Ford did not spend the money where it was supposed to be spent. So it's important that there is accountability for the money which we are giving to the provinces, and provinces have to make sure, including Doug Ford's government, that there is a better healthcare system. But as federal government, we have introduced Canada Dental Program, and which is really helping. Like over 2 million Canadians have used that. We will work on the pharmacare. We have started with the prescription drugs for the people with diabetes. That has already started because I think healthcare is a really very important, and we take pride as Canadians. And I think it's important that every Canadian knows that if, God forbid, it is needed, there is healthcare for them. I myself is a survivor of stage 4 cancer back in 2018. I was diagnosed with non-Hodgkin lymphoma stage 4, and I went through a very extensive chemo. I know how important healthcare is for every Canadian. We have to make sure. I hope no one has to go to the emergency care or hospital, but if needed, there should be healthcare for all Canadians.
Thank you very much. I'm concluding it. So for other question, unless it's very important and has to be face to face, you can always email Chris and Salma and ask those questions. We have as we have Maz here, and he's going to bring you some important information.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. It's good to see a lot of you at Jummah prayers today. I've been sent from Ottawa from Prime Minister Carney's campaign team. Now, they usually send people to ridings when it's very close. A lot of you have talked about, we're looking good in the polls, but the other side is very motivated to beat Chris. We cannot let that happen. Our community, Hamari Muslim community, we need to, do all we can to just get together and help with the mobilization effort. So tangibly, what that means, as Salma was talking about, we need volunteers. We need some people to volunteer on Saturday and Sunday, and we need people to volunteer on election day. And it's very easy. It's not complicated. There are a lot of Liberals in the riding, and oftentimes people forget or take for granted that, oh yeah, Chris will win, we don't need to vote. We have to go and remind them. So we need volunteers to help with that. So you can come see me afterwards, and I can help you. I can guide you about how you can work with me, inshallah, on volunteering. We need people like Chris and people like Salma in Ottawa, but we also need a Liberal government to be there so that Salma can continue to do the work that she's doing, and Chris can represent you, Bay of Quinte in Ottawa. Thank you. Jazakallah khair.
Thank you, Mas. Yes. Thank you very much. There is one more small thing.
Very small.
Brother Ali is here.
So as you know, the volunteers are very important. We have a very young volunteer here. She sold bracelets in the school to get some donations for the mosque. Zunara, you please come. And okay, thank you very much. Thanks for your effort. And I hope as you grow older, keep volunteering for the community and for the mosque. Thanks very much. Thank you. Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Let's get a photo. Congratulations. Get in here. There you go. Yeah.
That's really very good.
Yeah. There you are.
Do it like this. Good job.
Great. Well done.
Thank you, Beta. Thank you.
All right, everybody.
Thank you, everybody. Very good.
Thank you. All right, everybody. This concludes our session today. As you already know, there are some refreshments over here. Please help yourself.